Greetings. It is July 29th, 2024. I'm continuing the saga Ron Holmes, West Virginia Creek boy, world traveler trying to put some I don't know, some of life down in case somebody would be interested later, friends. I know I would have been, but people are different. They really are. We're living in different times, and it's shocking, but I'm going to continue on. There's a lot. I have a lot going through my mind. Different things that I'd like to sort of pass on for posterity. Like I need to do a segment on work and definitely, the spiritual journey in life. It's worth some time and discussion and I guess just a look. I have to look, but so I'm sitting out here at the creek here at the Hobbs Island Marina, trying to get my West Virginia mindset going on. I have to get out to the water and the green periodically, every few days, as a matter of fact. I just got it in me, and it's close by, so I come down here instead of just sitting at home. This is really a beautiful place, great for the mind, and it's that I just love being out. But all right, so in life here, there I'm entering into something that is gonna just really have a profound effect on me. I'm thinking in my mind. I've been stunned by the sudden collapse of things in in Maryland, the church and everything. So now, looking for what's next. I said, Lord, what is it? What do you want me to do? And I would do anything. I didn't care. I sort of had like a missionary heart, but there was the church. It's Church of God. The Church of God was really small, and it really didn't have a lot of workers, and I felt that that's what I should be doing is working in the field somehow, some way. So I didn't get hardly any input from my pastor friends, and the my former pastor of the congregation we left from. He didn't say, "Well, come on down" and all that, but it was a very difficult decision. There were some options. There was a place in Alabama. That's where I live now. That needed somebody, but it just wasn't right at the time. But so my wife and I finally decided that we're gonna pack up, take our three kids, move to Illinois, a little town called Mattoon, Illinois, 18,000 people. Right in the middle of the cornfield, and very safe, very the people there are great. They really are. It's Midwestern. It's an agricultural area. The very little minorities and no problems with anything or anybody. And I talked to that cop that was sitting right next to the house when I got there and said, "Hey, what do you think about the safety here?" And he said he wouldn't mind his wife walking north, south, east, and west in the middle of town at 3 o'clock in the morning by herself. So I thought, well, okay. And it was so. It really was. It was a great place to raise kids and all that. But you know, unfortunately, that was the place that started the biggest drama. And I mean, what in the world? In my mind, I'm going. The in-laws said, come on, you can help us for a while. You figure out what you're going to do, and blah blah blah. But in the father-in-law's mind, I think he was thinking of me replacing him. But that's I don't care anything about what anybody else was thinking. I'm just sort of wounded from the experience and wanting to rest, and got three kids to take care of, and I got to work. And so we're off, and we go to and also the in-law said, just come. We got room in our house, and they had a big house and stuff. They said we got room in our house, and it'd be great to have y'all, the grandkids and everything. And until you figure out what you're going to do, okay, everything sounded cool. But I'm telling you, it wasn't long, and my opinion. Well, my in-laws were a really, they were sort of odd people to me, to say the least. They were strange. They had some oddities about them, I really, they were part of my church, so they were accepted, and I didn't know them very well. They were just odd, we went there all the time, every Christmas and whatever, and they were odd, but I just, I didn't think it was anything to be concerned about by any stretch, but come to find out pretty quickly that it was something to be concerned about, and I just well, let me tell you about the incident, and yeah, I love fishing, and I took my kids fishing when they were young and all, so we got there and we sort of got settled in a little bit, and I told the kids, I had the three kids at that time, Gabe, Bethany, and Ben, and they were young. And so I told the kids that I was going to take them fishing, and we were going to go catfishing at night, and all that. So I had the lanterns, had everything ready to go, and I gotta shut this phone thing off. And we got ready to go, and my father-in-law was going to go with us, and of course we got ready to go, and my daughter Bethany, she starts sort of whimpering around, and I said, Bethany, you can go, it's no problem, you can go with us, and things got really strange. Suddenly, I think, well, why are y'all acting like this? Why is this a big deal? Because they started saying, well, now if she goes with us, then we're going to have to either get their mother or grandmother to go too, and it's night, and I hate for them to have to get out and all that. I said, what? What do you mean they have to go? I was stunned, I'd never heard anything like that. I said, why in the world would they have to go? They don't fish, Well, so, if we're going to take a girl, we need another girl or a woman there, for appearance sake. I said, appearance sake, man, what are you talking about, appearance sake, Are you some kind of idiot? And so, I was flabbergasted. But they were, they were sticking to their guns, and somebody would go. I can't remember what finally happened on that fishing trip, but I know this, that I had red flags, alarm bells, going off, because what they were telling me was that a father could never be alone with his daughter. And I thought, come on, what kind of fruitcake? Where'd you get that kind of garbage, Because, I mean, I love my little girl, if I'm going to take her to get an ice cream or go fishing, I don't care if it's with her brothers, me, or whatever, what is wrong with you? That was my opinion. But it ended up causing a stir, because I hadn't unpacked, and I told my wife, I said, look, there's no use me unpacking, because there's something going on, and I don't know, but it's creepy, and so on. So the bottom line, I'm just gonna run through this, because I ended up spending like 14 years there, but it ended up dramatic immediately. There's something peculiar, And my father-in-law, he was a squirrely dude. He acted ultra conservative. In the church, church was very conservative. People didn't wear jewelry or whatever, but he wouldn't wear a colored tie. He was Mr. White Tie. He wore a white tie because a colored tie looked like jewelry. I mean, I think, oh, whatever. If you want to wear a white tie, whatever. But so I am extremely disturbed, and I'm thinking, man, I just got here, and it looks to me like I just have to run away. You know, I got to get out of this mess. There's something stinking here. So anyway, I I decided, I was still a pastor, or not a pastor, a preacher, card carrying minister, whatever. I don't know, however you want to term it. I was accepted as a pastor, went to pastors' meetings and all that the whole time. And so I inquired, you know, I thought, am I missing something here? This is not right. There's something creepy. There's something unnatural, And so I called a couple, and I went and held a revival meeting somewhere, and I talked to that pastor. I talked to my former pastor, and I said, look, I went to go fishing, and this guy said this, and immediately my former pastor, who I really had a lot of confidence in, he says, that's perverted. And I said, ding, 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 exactly, man, exactly. And so I said, look, I'm freaking out. I'm not unpacked, and I'll head down the line. And he told me, he said, well, what do the other people think? And I said, yeah, I don't know. I haven't been here. I didn't know this was going on. And I had, nobody's come to me. I've never heard this. This is my first experience with it. I'm freaking out. What should I do? And so, he says, well, go to some of the other people there, especially the ones that have kids, and ask them what they think. He said, just ask them. He said, I was told this. What do you think about that? Well, come to find out, they were freaked out too. And this guy was putting this on them, and he was so adamant about it. It was like, you ain't right if you're out, letting your husband and daughter be at the house at the same time without another woman. All this stuff. I go, what? So I went to the first lady, and she bursted out in tears. I thought, whoa. And she says, she says, you've got to help us. And I'm thinking, yeah, what do you mean I've got to help you? And she said, look, when you said that you're going to move here and all that, she said, we were thinking, oh, God's sending somebody to deliver us from what's happening here. So I was, whew, my goodness, okay, well, that's one person. So I went to the next one, and no tears, but the same urgency, the same, wow, this is spiraling out of control. So I thought, whoa, what in the world now? Suddenly, now the cat's out of the bag. The cat's out of the bag. They think, well, this is a church, like so many. Remember I told you about the little church I went to was just a handful of old people, and it was the same family. Well, this is a bigger group of people, but same circumstances, same family. The grandfather started the congregation, and he had like 13 kids and so on, and it was all sort of family, and it was pretty much all family, when we got there. So he was able to have an extraordinary control over these poor people, and they didn't have anything to gauge themselves by because they weren't close to another congregation. They were in the middle of the cornfield in Illinois, and it was miles and miles to the next church that they could compare themselves to. They went to big camp meetings and things, but they were isolated, and so the bottom line, I go back to my pastor. I said, look, I said, Brother Wilcox, this is what happened. This is what they said, and of course that was like the tip of the iceberg with this weird stuff, and it all had this little, like, twisted, odd kind of spirit to it. Well, so I told him, I said, look, this is what the folks are saying, and all that, and so he says, well, all you can do is go talk to him and let him know, let him know, look, there's a problem, and I talked to the other ministers and all that, and this is what they said, And when I told him that Brother Wilcox said it was perverse, he just, oh, whoa, it was like he sort of like hung his head. Well, I didn't know what it meant, I'm thinking, what's this guy? Did he somehow get off on reading something somewhere and he didn't have anything or anybody to check himself by, and it just sounded good, sort of appealed to his little white tie streak or whatever, and so I'm saying, well, what's his reaction going to be? Because I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what the cause was, the extent of the thing. I had no idea. I'm just trying to find out, hey, this is what you're doing. This is what I told him. This is what I'm thinking. I can't do this. I just told him I'm not going to do this. I don't care what you say. I don't care. And I don't think that the church as a whole is going along with this. So I don't care. You do what you want to do. Well, and he was a slow dude. The whole family was a little on the slow side, unfortunately. Well, not all of them, but I mean, they were uneducated. But the reaction sort of befuddled me. And the first thing he says, well, I can see one thing. And he didn't say anything. And I said, what? And he says, I've lost stature in the eyes of the ministry. And I just said, whoa. You lost stature. That's your only concern about something this bizarre? Is that it's not that what you're doing is wrong, It's not that you're not saying, hey, why am I thinking this way? Where'd this come from? He's not thinking this. He's thinking, well, those looking on that I have contact with in the ministry, because they know this thing or whatever, they're not going to think as highly of me, respect me, in my white tie fanaticism kind of thing, and so I said, I just waited, I said, well, what are you going to do? And it was almost like a political speak kind of thing, it was just odd. And he would sit around. He got some kind of magazine from some organization that had all kinds of weird things in it, and he would use it for his sermons and whatever, he would use this magazine. Well, I guess I'm going to have to get rid of my magazine, because the people freaked out over that thing too. And okay, all right, yeah, and make some adjustments. Okay. All right. So I sat back, I waited, you know, and I'm saying, Lord, uh, do I have to unpack? I got 3 kids. I got to work, and then I'm living in his house, going through these very, very difficult conversations. So it seemed as though, okay, uh, it may mellow out here. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna push it. This is the folks that live here, whatever the church, they take care of this. And so I just, okay, well, we ended up. I was very reticent about getting settled in, but just had to, and they came around, and the house 3 doors down was for sale, and it was like 3 4 bedroom, four. I turned it into a 4 bedroom house, but 4 bedroom house, great big yard, garage, basement, attic, and all this, and it was $29,000, less than $30,000. And I thought, whoa, what in the world, And so I thought, wow, it was a double VA repossession. And so I bought it, fixed it up, moved in, all that. And okay, we'll at least have this. If I fix it up and resell it, when the time comes for me to do what I'm supposed to be doing, then I'll be able to make some money from this. And well, so the pot was stirred, and I'm thinking, okay, all right, this is gonna be, it'll be okay. God's got this under control. I am not at the helm of this ship, and God's got this under control. You just do what you're supposed to do, and my wife and I, Carolyn and I, we got to work, and we started having a really fantastic children's services. I mean, we had some vacation Bible schools that were just a hoot. I mean, just the best time. And we really were getting into it. But, like I said, the cat was out of the bag. And the father-in-law was messed up. But the mother-in-law, I mean, sorry, but she was just evil. I mean, she was evil. Well, so there had to be retribution for rocking the boat, So they start carrying on, and they're accusing different people in the congregation of starting trouble. Then they start accusing me of coming there to take the helm, and all that, because now people are stirred up, and they were fine before you got here. You came here to put this power play on me, and because you're young and smooth, and I'm older and slower. I don't know what the deal was, but I'm thinking, whoa, this guy's saying this stuff. So yeah, he starts accusing one of the ladies in the church. Then he starts accusing me. Then he starts accusing another one, and all this, and they're about to bail. It's blowing up. It's blowing up, and I, if it blew up, I was gone. I'm out of here. And so I called I called the ministry again. I called my former pastor. I called some of the people that were older and wiser. And so I told him, I said, look, this thing's blowing. There's nothing I can do. You all need to know the situation, and somebody needs to do something here. Well, so they decided that they were going to. They sent a man that really is very, very respected in the church. He was a worldwide evangelist, old 70-some-year-old guy, and I had more respect for that man, spiritually speaking, than really anybody I'd ever met. He was a worker. He was dynamic. He was a great guy. really down to earth, and he helped me. He came and helped repair my building in Maryland and held us revivals and so on and so forth. He was great. So okay, look, we're gonna have a meeting, and he said I want to talk to everybody. I said sure, man. Whatever. Come on down. And so he came and he called everybody together, and he stood there and he said, "Now look," he said, "there's something wrong here." And he said, "I'm not leaving until it's taken care of." He basically said, "I'm not just going to pick the scab off this thing. There's something underneath." And so he talked to everybody. He talked to everybody, and he talked to me, and he told me straight up. He said, "Look," he said, "you're my friend. We've worked together, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to tell you, just like I've told everybody, if I think that you're the problem," he said, "I'm naming it out." And I said, "Fine, fine. You can dig and scrape and talk and whatever." I was completely clear in my conscience, and I said, "Fine." And so he did, and he listened to the young, to the old, and every last person. He didn't leave anybody out. Everybody could speak and all that. Well, so 2-3 days later, we meet again, and he stood up there, and I'm telling you, I got to take my pill. My alarm went off. It was amazing. Yeah, he really it was just impressive. The guy was impressive. Well, he just said, "Okay, I've talked to everybody," and he said, "And I've prayed. I've been here for days." And he said, I've been over in that room by myself, and I've been praying and I've been praying." And he said, "God has shown me what's going on." He said, "Where the problem is." And so, the first thing he did, the one lady that they were really on, accusing, that she was in cahoots, all this. He said, and Sister Robin, that was her name. He said, "God told me," and everybody just goes gulp, "that you're not the problem." And she almost started jumping up and down, because she knew she wasn't the problem. Well, and then he says, "Me," he said, "Brother Holmes," he said, "you're not the problem." I said, "Thank you very much." And so, I mean, it's quiet. We're all standing there, or sitting there. We're all sitting there. And the the creepy started happening. Suddenly, the father-in-law stands up. Everybody's sitting down. He stands up, and he steps out of the pew and all that, walks down and bows down at the altar. And I'm thinking, whoa, okay, here we go. And all the people in the congregation, they just all drop to their knees and they start praying. Well, then when he walks down there, Brother Everhard, he puts his hands on his chin, and he says, he looks down there and he points his finger at him. He said, that's not the real problem." And then the mother-in-law stands up, and I'm telling you, that was the creepiest display I had ever seen. She speaks up in this weird, unnatural voice, and she says, If I'm the problem, then pray for me. Whoa! And she goes down and she kneels down at the other end of the altar. And so I'm thinking, get me out of here. I'm thinking, whoa, all right, bro, you got it. You take it. Let me know how it all works out with these crazies. And so we just sort of dismiss, so everybody's starting to slip out. And sure enough, he called me back there. He said, I need your help. And please, no. But I said, okay, all right, sure. And so I stayed, my wife stayed, and she stayed off to the side. Okay. She didn't get involved in this. Well, over all the discussions and, finding out all this weird stuff going on and all that, I thought there's some kind of weird pervert child molester stuff going on. I mean, that was the only conclusion. Well, in the meantime, I find out that my wife's family, there's like some sort of a nest of incest. I didn't know this. I didn't know this, but we start digging around. Why is all this weird stuff? Well, there was some sort of a nest of incest, and there was a story about some old man that lived down in a little like shack down at the edge of their field, that they farmed when they were kids and all that. And apparently that old man had lured some of the uncles and molested them, right? So, I knew this story, and so I thought, that's probably it. He probably got molested by that old man, and it's affected his thinking, and so on and so forth. So I'm thinking that. Well, I'm just with Brother Everhart. That's all, So he goes over and he starts talking to the father-in-law, and he says, "Okay, what's happening here? What's going on? There is something wrong. There's something causing you to think this way and do these things that you're doing." And he said, he said, you need to just get it clear. Well, all he says, if you think I've done something wrong, then pray for me. That's it. That's all. So if you think I've done something wrong, just pray for me. And I'm thinking, what in the world? I mean, this guy's blowing this whole congregation and family and, church. He's blowing it all up with this weird stuff. And he's saying, if you think there's something wrong, if you think, whoa. Well, so I thought, okay, let's go digging here. Let's mine around a little bit, because I've learned a little bit about this weird stuff in their family. And so it's just me, Brother Everhart, him, his wife down, my mother-in-law down at the other end, which is 30 whatever feet away, and then my wife hanging around the corner. And I asked him, I said, Robert, I need you to tell me the truth. Were you ever molested when you were a kid? And it was interesting, because he was just nonchalant. Matter of fact, no, I was never molested. But boy, I looked down and I could feel that mother-in-law. And so I had my back to her, and I glanced over at her, and I'm telling you, if the devil had eyes, she borrowed them. She was burning a hole through me. It was so bad and so creepy. I felt it, I felt it. Then I thought, wait, I feel like I'm on to something here. Well, so I look over there and she's looking like that, and I'm thinking, there's something wrong, there's something wrong here. Well, he didn't fess up to anything, And so So Brother Everhart, he just shook his head. He said, how can I pray for a guy that doesn't think he did anything wrong? I said, you're right, you know. Yeah, I said, yeah, I mean, it's a waste of your breath. So we get up, left him there, you know, at that altar. We walked down the other end, started talking to the mother-in-law, and I'm telling you what, man, you talk about a confrontation with evil there. And that woman, all you could get out of her. If you think I've done something wrong, then pray for me, you know. And so basically, Brother Everhart and I were looking at each other, saying, "Well, what do you do with this? What do you do with this? There's something wrong. They're hiding it. Can't get them to spit it out, and all that, you know. But you know, you can't just say, okay, well, I prayed for you and everything's okay, because it's not. But then again, you know, see, he was in a catch-22 since he was in charge of this thing. He was in a catch-22 because if he just told him, no, you know, I'm not wasting my breath praying for you too because you're not being honest, you know, and all that. He said, look, he tells me, and he says they're going to go away and blame me that I wouldn't pray for them or whatever. He said, I'm going to say a prayer for these two. I was, okay. Well, so he says some little prayer, you know, Lord, help them to open their eyes, whatever. I don't know, whatever. And he got up, and we all left. He went over to his room, started packing. You know, I went home. They went home. And I said, well, Brother Everhart, what now? He said, well, they asked me to come. They asked me to find out. I found out. He said, now, we're going to have to see, you know, Lord, what you going to do here? Well, it wasn't long. It was like, you know, like that next morning, or whatever. The in-laws call. They want to talk to everybody, and they they say, well, you know, we can see that, you know, there's been some real, you know, issues, blah blah blah, and it'd be best for us to just go. He said, I'm resigning, and he'd already called this pastor in Phoenix who was really, he was almost, well, he was just as weird as my father-in-law, so they had an affinity, you know. So he said, I'm moving to Phoenix. Well, you know, everybody, of course, were stunned. You know, they're in shock. This is a family trauma. This is trauma. But also, it's like a newfound freedom. You know, they have been liberated from this thing. And it was, you know, it was almost like ding dong, the witch is dead. You know, especially the mother-in-law. You know, now. You know, I would think after all this stuff, you know, the church was informed, and they sent Brother Everhart to take care of it. He took care of it, and his determination was that, you know, the pastor was off. There's something wrong. Can't really get to the actual bottom of it here, but you know, so he quit right away, right? Okay, so obviously they start blaming him, you know. They start blaming him, and they, you know, he moved and all that, and he went basically throwing stones at me and people, whatever. But you know, okay, it's over. In my mind, it's over. You know, this guy was off. He's gone. You know, in my thinking now, all right, congregation, you know, we need to pray that God sends somebody here to be a pastor. You know, and I just told him flat out, it ain't me. You know, and it ain't me because I don't want anybody. I don't want anybody thinking for 1 minute that I had anything to do with this mess, then I said, hey, I'm as traumatized as anybody else. And so we just started patching things together. The first thing we had to do is get rid of some of all these weird. There was just a litany of weird, fanatical things. And so we had a meeting and said, I said, well, what are y'all thinking? Then they start asking questions about all this stuff. They said, well, when we're playing board games, we're not allowed to use dice. We have to use spinners. Well, well, that's stupid. You can forget that. There's no reason for that. And everything. Well, that's what we thought. So they went down and listed all this stuff. Okay. So we're trying to even the ship just for us personally. But we're filling in different people, different things, and they start sending some people to preach and see if they could get some interest in somebody to move there. And it just went on. It went on, and so it got to the point it was like 3 or 4 months. It was quite some time. So every three church services a day we're having to piece something together and so on and so forth. And of course I could do it, but I just did not. I didn't want to give people the opportunity, especially I knew the in-laws left, and they left steaming. They were evil when they left. They got more evil as time went on. The things they say and accuse and all this stuff. So, well, so there's some real things going on. And months later, I can't remember, 3-4 months, whatever. Old Brother Everhard, bless his heart, he calls me up. He says, look, he said that congregation there is not going to hold together much longer at all. And he said, I feel that it's up to you, And I talked to him. I said, look, I don't want people thinking this. He said he's working as hard as he can. He said there may be some already thinking it. He said, but these people need help, and because of the mess this guy caused, nobody wants to touch it. He said you're there. And basically this is your job. I said, well, it is. It is that being a pastor or a missionary or something, evangelist, whatever. That's my job. So I just sat down. I sat down with my wife and I said, wow. I'm torn, but I care. I care. I love these people. I love the family. I love the whole thing. I didn't love Illinois. Illinois is a good place to live, but it was flat, and I couldn't stand it every day in, day out, all that flat stuff. But other than that, it was great for raising kids and all that. So I consented, and I said, okay, well, Lord, if this is what you want me to do, then I'll do it with all my heart. And I know that I'm going to have to, when they were rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, how that they had the plow in one hand and the sword in the other, and I said, well, I know they're going to be stabbing me in the back like crazy, but for the sake of these folks and for the sake of what's right, what's good and what's decent and honorable, I'll do everything I can. And so they leave, and things calm down. Of course he was working against me, but I didn't have to worry about it unless there's a meeting with other pastors, and they can play whatever games they want to, and eventually they did, or they so on. Well, but the it ends up, it's just like hanging again. Everything's hanging. the creep who never made anything right, never took any responsibility, gets sympathy from some other creep in Phoenix, goes there, and they're all accepted. Everything's all hunky dory, and and all that. And I said, okay, well, I just won't go to Phoenix because I can't stomach the thought of looking at that guy. I don't see how y'all can do this, but whatever you want to do. So, I'm always what I find out is I have a confidence that God is in control. I I have this inner thing that when I got saved and the experience that I had, it gave me a tremendous amount of confidence and faith that regardless of what happens in life, God's in control. And and so so I'm just keeping the faith. God, you're in control of this thing, and I'm just going to do what I know to do where I'm at right now, and all that, and all the rest of this stuff hanging and whatever, you're going to have to take control of this. And unfortunately, man, it went on for almost I think it was like 10 years. I mean, the whole episode went on for about 10 years. I mean, I I put up with stuff, and I put up with people, and I put up with whatever, and I'm thinking, whoa, 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 you know, this is not right. Our claim to fame as the Church of God is, we're God's church, and without spot and blameless, and there are things going on here that come on, and Catholics are the ones that take their perverted priests and move them around the world where they can be perverts again in another place. Aren't we better than that? But all right, I'm keeping my mouth shut, and it really it began a very, very odd sort of period in life. All right, so I've always got this in my mind that there's these people thinking this weird stuff, and I'm trying to work with them. I'm trying to trust them. I'm trying to have confidence in them. I don't care what they think about me, but I'm trying to, and when I say this, I think that most people will understand what I mean. It began, all my life, as a person, an overthinker. I am not a shallow person. I perceive, I think, I whatever. I put things together. My mind is extremely active, always has been, and I'm isolated in my mind. I'm isolated. Regardless, I'm surrounded with people, but this really, when I was a kid, I was that way, and then, when I was young and running around, I was the type of person that I could be in a crowd of people, but I always felt alone, it made no difference. There's like this alone thing, but, manageable, no problem. But boy, it just really got, exacerbated. It was blown up, the alone thing. And I became, uh, it was like I was the only person I could talk to. You know, I was the only person I could talk to, and I'm thinking, I don't know who to trust. I don't know what's going on here. I'm just trying to do my best, and let this thing work out. And so eventually it caused me some real problems. I mean, real problems, and things that are totally bad. I really got out of line, but I lived through it. And I understood what was going on, but nobody else did, for sure. And I couldn't really talk. And it was sad because I couldn't even talk to my wife. We talked, but there was something. there was something there. It stayed there, and all that, and I couldn't figure all this stuff out. And so I'll just tell you, I got to work, and it was like, oh, like 10 years later, finally, I well, I'll just jump ahead. Okay, I'll just jump ahead. So finally, like 8, 10, 12, I don't know how many years into this mess out of nowhere, my wife, whom I loved, I still love her, but but she comes to me and she says, I was praying and God told me that I need to talk about something. And so I said, well, sure. And out of nowhere, she says, my father molested me when I was a child. And I'm telling you, wow. Yeah, I knew there was something sickening. I knew. And so, when she said that, you talk about a lot of emotions in me. I'm thinking, oh, wow. Well, this explains it. This clears things up. I can say, hey, here's the problem, y'all. But and at the same time, I'm thinking, baby, you let me roast for 10 years knowing the whole time. I'm having conversation with her. I think, I said, there's some kind of perversion, some kind of molestation here somewhere. I think, I told her what I was thinking about the guy that lived on the edge of the field and all that. And she just, yeah. She never said a thing. Never said a thing. Whew. Yeah, it was tough. Because on one hand, I'm thinking, okay, well, she was abused. She's got PTSD and covering up and all that. That's natural and all that. On the other hand, I'm thinking, man, you knew the whole time. You stood there at that altar when Brother Everhart had those two down there, and he could have just got the broom and swept the whole situation out, and we could have gone on and lived happily ever after. But it didn't work that way. Well, of course, I'm thinking, well, ta-da, problem solved here. This is the information we need to close this years long case and all that. So, I talked to the ministers. I said, look, we need to have a meeting here because this situation needs some discussion. This needs discussion. And so I'm thinking, okay, y'all, you got the information now. Find out what's going on here, with this guy. Find out. If he claims that he was delivered from being a child molester at some stage or whatever, can God do that? Yeah. God can forgive and deliver people from anything, literally anything, addictions, homosexuality. I mean, anything that you want to be clear of, you can get clear, but he never got clear. And so I found out the whole thing. When she was about 10 or 11 years old, she said that she was in a car in the back seat, and Mom was in the front, and he was driving. And Mom got out to run in the store, and he turned to her in the back seat and said, "Look, I told God that I'm sorry for what I've been doing, and I want to tell you I'm sorry too." And she said she just turned to the door and just buried her face, and just didn't want to talk about it. And she said that in her mind, well, he told God and whatever, so it's okay. And no, it wasn't okay. But bottom line was, we have this other meeting, and I think, oh, they're going to take care of it. And do you know they didn't? They didn't. I said, look, man, he's gone. The people have gotten pretty much over the trauma. But for my own sake, and for the sake of others, if this man is sitting in a congregation being accepted, and there are children running around that congregation all over the place, and this dude is some kind of sicko that thinks that a father can't be trusted with his own daughter because he's the pervert. It's not fathers, it's him. And it's not been resolved. And brother, all right, so I expect, okay, they're going to clean this up. They didn't clean up anything. They left it. And it just, the whole thing, it got me. It got me. But that was years down the line. So I had to say that, to say this. Next thing, we're gonna forget about that, move on, and get to the next drama thing, right? There's always something. But life is good, and I came through it, and in the course of those years and the struggle years, had 2 more kids. My little Michael and Kara were born, so now I got 5 kids, and it's exciting. It really is. Traveling, doing all this stuff. So it'll be much more positive note. I had to get that one out. That hurts just to even think about it, but truth is truth. If you don't want to listen to it, turn it off. Love you. Bye.